Good morning, afternoon, and evening, all. This is Yorkie with episode 3 of my in-depth track guide series. This week, taking a look at the Shanghai International Circuit from Shanghai in China. And as per usual, we're going to follow the usual video format, starting off with the breakdown with the hot lap to follow, and then the setups at the end. So without further ado, let's move straight into the breakdown. So straight away the game is making it difficult for you by giving you control of the car right at the entry to the final corner. Stay off the gas, try and get as close to that bollard on the inside as possible. Open up your DRS on the detection point coming out the exit, and obviously drain the curves before the start finish line. Approaching turn 1, we're going to switch the brake bias into the rear, and we're going to bring the car over to the left hand side before chucking it in. And we're looking for our braking point, which is at the red and white curbing here on the inside. We're going to be shifted down from 7th gear pretty much all the way down through the gears. We're going to be trail braking as we come around this corner. That's why we're using the rear brake bias, just to give us a bit more stability on the front to prevent locking. But as we come through the corner, you basically want to try and get as close to the inside curb as possible at this point here. At this point, your apex speed should be about 155 miles per hour, which equates to 250 kilometers per hour. And you're basically going to try and kind of hug the inside curb, but also drift ever so slightly through the middle of the corner as we come and proceed through it. So doing exactly that, we're going to continue shifting down the gears, and in 3rd gear we're going to balance the throttle ever so slightly, just trying to maintain a little bit of that speed. You want to be taking a wider entry into the 2nd apex here, where the concrete meets the curb on the inside. Should be in 2nd gear, about 70 miles per hour, 110 kilometers per hour, and that wider entry will help keep the tighter exit throughout turn 2 and open up turn 3 just that a little bit better. So coming out of turn 2 into turn 3, we're going to use a very short little burst of the throttle, just kind of balancing it. You want to watch the transition. We're going to shift down into 1st gear as we come into the apex point, clipping it here on the inside curb. Your apex speed should be about 65 miles per hour, which equates to 105 kilometers per hour. Traction coming out of this corner is very, very important. So as you come through the corner, you want to be balancing the throttle ever so slightly. You want to start to unwind the wheel as you come through the corner. Don't run all the way to the curb on the outside. Instead, trying to kind of hold a middle line. As you come into 2nd gear, it should be full throttle now. Before 3rd gear, drain about 30% of the curves. Let the car unwind to the right side of the track. Turn 5 is completely flat out. Now coming down into turn 6 at the end of the 1st sector. You want to be starting to brake at the red and white curbing on the outside there. Just after the 100 meter board, you'll be shifting down from 6th gear all the way down into 1st. Before you arrive at this corner, you should have brought the brake bias back into neutral, and you also want to be trying to maximise the width of the track. You want to stay off the curb, otherwise you'll lock the front wheels. So doing exactly that, almost brushing it, we're going to flip the car into the apex point, which is on the red and white curbing on the inside here. Apex speed should be about 50 miles per hour, which equates to 80 kilometers per hour. You just want to be brushing the curb on the inside. You don't want to bounce over it, as it is a very aggressive curb and a wheel unsettled car. But as you come out through the exit, you should be starting to bring the throttle back in ever so slightly, balancing it. You're going to straighten up the wheel, run the car to the outside, try not to get the curb on the outside there. You're going to shift the brake bias back into rear as we bring the car over to the right, and then we're going to flick it left into this long turn 7. You basically want to be clipping a late apex where the concrete meets the red and white curbing on the inside here. Your apex speed should be about 165 miles per hour, which equates to 265 kilometers per hour. You should be completely flat out throughout the duration of this corner, and as we come out through the exit, you want to continue running the curb. You don't want to run out wide as you want to open up turn 8 that immediately follows. So doing exactly that, we're going to bring the car back over to the left ever so slightly. We've got a very short braking zone, just shifting down from 6th gear down to 4th. It's not a harsh braking zone, you just want to be very smooth with the brakes, because we're going to be turning into the corner at the same time, whilst also obviously trail braking ever so slightly. We want to be nice and smooth, bring the car over to the right hand side of the track as we come into the corner now. And we're looking for our apex, which is again going to be at the concrete meeting the curbing on the inside here. They're very good reference points, these concrete strips. But yeah, the apex speed should be about 125 miles per hour, which equates to 200 kilometers per hour. You want to be clipping the curb on the inside, and from this point here, you should be balancing the throttle ever so slightly. You shouldn't be hard on the accelerator. Just run the curb on the inside. Try and keep the car to the right-hand side of the track. And as soon as we get it in the straight line, we're going to be looking for our braking point, which is roughly here. We're going to shift them down from 4th gear down to 2nd for this rather tricky turn 9 and 10. Make sure to get all your braking done before the corner, as it's very easy to run out wide and over the exit curb. So braking pretty hard. Make sure you get your car slowed down. Turn the car in. You want to be brushing the curb on the inside here. Your apex speed should be about 80 miles per hour, which equates to 130 kilometers per hour. You don't want to be hard on the accelerator. Instead, you just want to balance it, because like I said, you don't want to be running over that exit curb on the outside, as you want to try and get a nice smooth exit through this corner, which will really help you through turn 10. So just balancing the throttle. We're going to ever so slightly brush the curb. We're going to bring the car back in. You should be completely flat out throughout the duration of turn 10 here. Your apex speed should be about 110 miles per hour, which equates to 175 kilometers per hour. And as you come out through this corner, you don't want to be hitting the curb on the inside, you just want to be getting as close to it as possible. But we're going to let the car drift out wide. You want to be unwinding the wheel as you continue accelerating up through the gears. Run the curb on the exit, shift your brake bias back up into neutral. Keep the car over to the right hand side of the track as we come up to turn 11. Just after the 100 meter board, at the start of the red and white curbing, you should be starting to brake hard, and we're shifting down from 6th gear all the way down into 1st. You should be keeping the car as far right as possible as you want to try and open up this left-hander, ready for the right-hander that immediately follows. So braking, shifting down the gears, we're going to turn the car in and you're aiming to clip the red and white curbing on the inside just here. Your apex speed should be about 50 miles per hour, which equates to 90 kilometers per hour. You want to be very patient on the accelerator. You want to kind of hug the inside curb as well. You don't want to be drifting out wide as you want to open up turn 12, which immediately follows. But as we come out through the corner now, like I said, balancing the throttle, opening up the corner, so chucking the car in now. You should be aiming to clip, again, the red and white curbing on the inside where the DRS detection point runs across the width of the track. Your apex speed should be about 75 miles per hour, 120 kilometers per hour. You want to be in 2nd gear for stability here, and you should be about 5% throttle, just balancing it ever so slightly. You don't need to come off it fully. So coming through the apex, you should be starting to let the car drift over to the middle of the track. Start unwinding the wheel. You want to be trying to keep a smooth flowing line. From 3rd gear onwards, you should be completely flat out. Let the car drift over to the left hand side of the track. As we get up into 6th gear, we're going to drain about 50% of our curves down to about 30-25% curves remaining. Get your DRS open at the activation point. You want to be sticking to the left hand side of the track, ready for turn 14. Just after the 150 meter board, about 130 meters before the corner, is a dark patch on the left hand side on the grass just there. You can probably just about see it. Going to use that as our braking point. We're going to be shifting down from 7th gear all the way down into 1st. It's quite a harsh and heavy braking zone, and you want to be shifting down relatively quickly, try and maximise the engine braking. You want to keep the car to the left hand side to try and open up this hairpin. We're going to turn the car in now, and we're aiming to clip the red and white curb on the inside. Just here at our apex point, roughly about 50 miles per hour, which equates to 80 kilometers per hour. It's one of the slowest corners on the track. And you just want to be basically brushing over the curb. You don't want to be riding it too aggressively, but immediately as you come over through the curb now and coming out through the exit into a very shallow turn 15, the corner's almost non-existent. You need to balance the throttle. You should be flat out completely in 3rd gear. Bring the car over to the right hand side for the final corner. Our braking point is between the DRS detection line and the shadow of the board that we're currently under. It's about 60 meters before the corner. You want to be trying to maximize the width of the track as much as possible. Trying to stay off the curb on the outside, unlike I do just here. And we're going to shift down 2 gears. You want to throw the car in. You want to try and maximize as much speed as possible, balancing the throttle as you come in, trying to get as close to that bollard on the inside as possible without hitting it. Our apex speed should be about 110 miles per hour, which equates to 175 kilometers per hour. And as you come out through the corner, you want to be getting hard on the accelerator. Unwind the wheel, come over to the curb on the outside. You don't want to really step over the curb like I did just there. You lose too much speed. Drain the rest of your curves and obviously open up the DRS at the detection line to complete your lap out of Shanghai. So now we're going to take a look at the same lap, completely unedited and in real time for you guys to get a real sense of the speed and my throttle inputs. Okay, so now that you've seen the lap in the dry, let's move on to the wet hot lap. Once again, very difficult entry to the final corner. Just stay off the gas. You want to try and get a nice smooth run. Get hard in the accelerators and come out through the exit. No DRS, so just drain the curves before the start finish line. You want to be shifting the brake bias into the rear, ready for turn 1. We're going to be coming up to the corner very, very aggressively. We're going to throw the car in, and we're basically going to take a wider entry into this corner now. Turn 1, we're going to miss the apex. We're going to clip turn 2 apex rather nicely. We're going to open up turn 3 a little bit more. You want to be very patient on the throttle throughout the exit. Try and minimise that wheel spin. Drain again, about 30% of your curves as you shift your brake bias back up into neutral, ready for turn 6. Pretty much exactly the same braking point, probably braking about 100 metres before the corner. Try and get as close to the curb on the inside as possible. Once again, being very patient on the throttle on the wet. Trying not to spin those rear tyres. Shifting the brake bias into the rear as we take exactly the same line through turn 7 and 8 as we did in the dry. You want to be trying to open up turn 9 as much as possible and get that car slowed down, get the curb on the inside, hitting that rather nicely. It should be full throttle from this point here onwards. And it should be keeping the car over to the right hand side of the track. Shift the brake bias back up into neutral again, ready for this hairpin. Braking relatively hard, just trying to be very, very smooth. And you'll try and stay in first gear, then you're going to shift up in second into third. From here onwards you should be completely flat out as you come out. Let the car drift over to the left hand side of the track. You want to again drain the curves down to about 30% as you get into 6th gear. No DRS this time, so we're just going to hug the left hand side of the track as we approach turn 14. At braking point, pretty much exactly the same spot as before, maybe 5-10 metres earlier. We're going to clip exactly the same apex point. We're going to let the car drift out wide as we come through turn 15, almost completely non-existent. Final corner, a much better line this time. Getting as close to the curb on the inside. That's how you should be running the curb on the exit. Drain that curves before the start finish line. And that is a complete lap of Shanghai. So moving on to the final part of the video now, we're going to take a look at the setups. For the dry setups, using the 2-2 front and rear wings. Brake bias was 49-51 with a high standard setup. Balance was completely flat 1-1. And then same again for suspension, 1-1-1-1 again for ride height and spring stiffness. These are the gear ratios that I was using in miles per hour for the dry, and then the gear ratios in kilometers per hour for dry lap. And then finally the toe and camber, with camber being relatively aggressive and toe being completely standard. And then again for the wet lap, using 3-3 wings, pretty much exactly the same balance on the brakes, except for the pressure was set to medium. Once again, same anti-roll bar setup with 1-1. Same again on the suspension, 1-1-1-1, and then the gear ratios in miles per hour, and then obviously the gear ratios also in kilometers per hour, just that. And then finally the toe and camber settings, camber being pretty much the same as it was in the dry, just slightly more on the rear. So that concludes this video for the in-depth track guide episode 3, taking a look at Shanghai. Please give the video a rating. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more track guides and other F1 content in the future. I shall hopefully see you soon, guys. Take care.